Two little girls get kidnapped on Thanksgiving. Their families and the police force look for them and uncover a hidden network of kidnappers operating for almost 30 years. Keller and Grace Dover live in Conyers, Pennsylvania. The Dover family goes to the Birch family for Thanksgiving. While the two families are getting dinner ready, the two little girls, Anna Dover and Joy Birch, go outside to play. They walk past an RV and they disappear. The families don't pay much attention until it's time for dinner. When they realize the two girls haven't come back, they immediately call the police. In the ensuing investigation, Ralph Dover, Keller's son, tells Loki, the detective, that he saw an RV outside. Loki sees a guy named Alex driving the van, so the detective arrests him. The police interrogate him, but they can get no information out of him. Alex is intellectually disabled, and his IQ is the same as that of a 10-year-old child. Loki visits the home where Alex lives. He finds his Aunt Holly, but not a lot of evidence related to the kidnapping. Not knowing where to turn, Loki investigates Patrick Dunn's house. Dunn was a former priest who lost his job when he confessed to being a criminal sex offender and murdering 16 children. Loki finds a corpse hidden in a cellar in Dunn's house, but when asked about it, the priest reveals that the body belongs to one of the victims he killed before confessing his murders. Not having evidence to keep him at the police station, Loki releases Alex. However, Keller is not convinced. He heard Alex say, "They didn't cry till I left them." He also overheard Alex singing the song Anna and Joy were singing outside right before they were kidnapped. Putting two and two together, Keller is convinced that Alex kidnapped them, so he assaults him outside the police station. Keller then kidnaps Alex and takes him to his childhood home. There, he and Franklin Birch, Joy's father, interrogate and torture Alex. Once Nancy Birch, Franklin's wife, finds out what they've been doing, she persuades her husband to stop. However, she tells him not to turn Keller in. Working on the investigation, Loki goes to the house where the RV was parked. It was an empty home, but Loki managed to find the building's previous owner. During an interrogation, Mrs. Milland, the former owner of the house, tells Detective Loki that she had a son named Barry Milland. However, he was kidnapped 26 years ago, and they've never seen him since. That evening, the detective holds a vigil in the neighborhood. During the watch, he notices a hooded figure in the distance. Loki chases after him, but fails to capture him. Grace, Keller's wife, is taking medication to deal with the trauma of her daughter's kidnapping. However, she heard someone breaking into her home. It's the same hooded figure Loki was chasing after. This mysterious person also burglars the Birch's home. Meanwhile, Loki follows Keller. The detective suspects Keller might have something to do with Alex's disappearance. However, before he can enter the building where Keller keeps Alex, he is informed that the hooded man is located, and his name is Bob Taylor. They capture the burglar in his home. Loki sees strange maze drawings on the walls of his home. Searching around, he finds a lot of crates filled with snakes. Inside the crates, there are also bloody clothes. Loki brings Taylor to the interrogation room for questioning. There, he confesses to the kidnapping, but instead of giving them further information, he just keeps drawing mazes in his interrogation room. Upon further questioning, Taylor doesn't give any answers. He just sits quietly and keeps drawing mazes. Loki grows more and more frustrated. As his frustration builds, he assaults Taylor. In the scuffle, Taylor manages to get his hand on an officer's gun. Before they can take it from him, Taylor kills himself, leaving the interrogators with barely any clues. Loki then takes photos of all the bloodied clothing, and he shows those photos to the Birches and the Dovers. The two families look at them carefully, and they identify that these are their children's clothes. Meanwhile, realizing he made a mistake, Keller goes to Holly's house to apologize for attacking Alex, who was clearly innocent. Keller and Holly begin talking, and the lady reveals that she and her late husband had a son. However, they found out that their son had cancer. After battling the disease for months, Holly and her husband lost their son to the illness. Loki is working arduously on the investigation. He is more focused than ever, and while examining the evidence they found so far, he notices that one of the victims preacher Patrick Dunn has killed looks familiar. Examining it further, he realizes that the maze in the victim's necklace is almost identical to one of the mazes Taylor was drawing. Meanwhile, the police inform Loki that they found a crucial part in the investigation. They found out that Taylor bought the clothes from a store, then soaked them with pig's blood. After that, the man took 2 child mannequins and buried them in the yard. Not wanting to leave this care, Loki goes to investigate the Dover house where he finds footprints. They match Taylor's shoes, and they lead to a window. On the trail, they also find one of Anna's socks. Out of nowhere, Joy is found and she is reunited with her family. She is immediately taken to the hospital, where she tells the officers how she and Anna were drugged by the kidnapper. The 2 kids attempted to escape, but unlike Joy, Anna was caught and taken back to the cell. Keller, Anna's father, wants to see if Joy will give him any clues as to where they were taken. Joy tells him that she doesn't remember much. However, she did admit to seeing him at the house where they were kept. Keller immediately realizes that she must have seen him while he was at Holly's house when he went there to apologize. He runs to Holly's. Loki is still looking for Keller, so he goes to the building he was investigating earlier. Instead of finding Keller, Loki finds Alex. He immediately goes to Holly's house to tell her that her nephew has been found. Meanwhile, Keller arrives at Holly's house. She knows that Keller found out she was the kidnapper, so she holds him at gunpoint. Then she tells Keller the full story. When she and her husband lost their child to cancer, they began kidnapping other people's children. This was their so-called war on God. They were angry that God took their child, so they did the same to other Christian families. They wanted these families to experience the same crisis of faith that Holly and her husband were facing after the death of their only child. She also revealed that Alex was the first child they abducted. His real name was Barry Milland, Mrs. Milland's son, whom she hadn't seen in 26 years. The second child they kidnapped was Taylor, who is now dead. Later, Holly drugs Keller and then drags his body to her prison, a cleverly hidden pit in the yard. While there, Keller finds his daughter's emergency whistle. While all of this is happening in the yard, Loki arrived at Holly's to tell her the good news. When he doesn't find anyone home, he starts looking at the photos. In one of them, he sees that Holly's late husband is wearing the same necklace as one of Father Dunn's victims, which was incidentally the same maze that Taylor was drawing before taking his life. At that moment, Loki realizes that Holly is the kidnapper, so he begins frantically looking for her around the house. When he finds her, Holly is injecting little Anna's arm with a strange substance. Not wanting to take any chances, he shoots and kills Holly, but he injured his head. After making sure that Holly is dead, he takes Anna in his arms and brings her to a hospital. The 2 girls then come to the hospital room and thank Loki for saving their lives. Grace Dover is also there. She tells Loki that she understands her husband will be arrested if found. However, she keeps saying to the detective that he is a good man. After his wounds have partially healed, Loki goes to the same house where the incident happened. At first, he hears a faint whistling sound, but he doesn't pay much attention to it. Right before the movie ends, he hears the distinct whistling sound a second time.